Berlin defense. 3. Knight f6 has long had a reputation for solidity and drawishness and is sometimes called the Berlin Wall. The Berlin defense was played in the late 19th century and early 20th century by Emanuel Lasker and others, who typically answered for castle with d6 in the style of the Steinitz variation. This approach ultimately fell out of favor, as had the old form of the Steinitz, due to its passivity, and the entire variation became rare. Arthur Bisguier played the Berlin for decades, but always chose the variation for castle knight times e4. Then in 2000, Vladimir Kramnik used the latter line as a drawing weapon against Garry Kasparov in their World Championship match, after which the Berlin enjoyed a remarkable renaissance. Even players with a dynamic style, such as Alexei Shiro, Veselin Topalov, and even Garry Kasparov himself have used it. White usually castles since black's third move does not threaten to win the e-pawn. If black captures it, white can win back the pawn on e5. After white castles, black can play either the solid 4, knight times e4 or the more combative 4, bishop c5, the Berlin classical variation. If black plays knight times e4, white has 5d4, or 5 rook e1 also works, as knight d6, knight times e5 is reasonable for white. After 5d4, the line continues, knight d6, 6, bishop times c6, d times c6, 7d times e5, knight f5, a queen times d8 check, king times d8, and white is considered to have a small advantage in light of his somewhat better pawn structure and black's awkwardly placed king. Black, by way of compensation, possesses the bishop pair and his position has no weaknesses, so it is difficult for white to exploit his structural superiority without opening the game and giving way to black's bishops. All 4 of the games in the Kasparov-Kramnik match in which this line was employed ended in a draw. Black could also try 6, b times c6, and if white plays 7d times e5, black has knight b7, and though white keeps an advantage, it is difficult for him to gain active counterplay. If white plays 4, knight c3, a transposition arises to the 4 knights game, and should white try playing the Steinitz move, 4d3, then black can try to catch white with the Mortimer trap.